I think we're there.
Are we?
I think so.
All right, good deal. I never saw a countdown or anything, so I
Yeah,
guess.
me neither. How's everyone going?
Um, so, anyways, welcome back to Bellwether No. As you can see, it's just me and Mr. Widener this week. Um, we have something special that we'd like to share with you. We're going to break it off into parts. We got to talking about it. We asked our friends, you know, to come on here and tell some of the most intimate stories about their life of depression and um, just hardships. And some of these guests that we've had are, oh my god, the stories we've heard up to now is ridiculous. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely.
So to
Sorry. Go ahead.
to expect somebody to come on and tell their story, we felt that it would be smart to tell our story. That way we could people could relate to us a little more. So tonight will be my story up into the point where I joined the army. Um, it's a good story. Um, there are hardships just like everybody else, but I'll get into that later. Before we get going, I want you to like and share, invite all your friends to come watch it, start a watch party, do whatever you got to do. Um, Before I get started, I'm going to let Widener. Widener has something he'd like to say to all the ladies out there that are listening to our stories, especially you single moms or you housewives. What do you want to tell them, people, Widener?
So, so throughout this whole COVID process thing, whatever the hell's going on in this country right now, with that, I've been fortunate enough to spend time with my daughters and my wife. Um, for all the males listening, if your wife works from home and takes care of the kids all the damn time, better get your shit in gear and thank them. This stuff is not easy. So I've had my daughters not babysitting because I'm a parent
That's
more
called
than
parenting.
usual. It's parenting, yeah. That stuff is hard. You know, end of the day, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to stay home with your kids all day and then try to get chores done, stuff like that. So all the mothers that do that, we commend you. Keep it up, and you better tell those significant others to get their ass in gear and thank you more because that is not an easy job. That's
Did you have dinner cooked when she got home?
no, no. I couldn't. I couldn't even take a
No,
shower until 5:30 tonight. So I get it. I get it, ladies. I get it. And thank you for raising your families that way and doing the heavy lifting. It's easy to get away and go to work and not hear the kids all day. So thank you. Keep it up. I commend you. I think more people need to hear that. Um, but I'm going to caveat off what you said in the beginning also is Wadzecks right. We ask people to come share a bunch of stuff without people really knowing about our background. And there's a reason for it. I think we wanted to kind of give people a platform and we don't want to quote unquote take the glory or what. We're not trying to do that. We just want people to be able to talk. We both have very, very significant stories on to how we got to where we are today, the things that we went with, our choices we made, stuff like that. So we talked on the phone quite a bit about this, and I think it's our turn to show where we come from. And we're not going to be telling war stories the whole time. We're not going to be, nothing like that. Like, that's not the plan. But we're just going to give you a better understanding of why we feel we have a spot on this platform, if that makes sense. So we all know that this channel is dedicated to our brother Desmond Hill. And I think he would appreciate if we can give our backstories to this whole thing. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be tough. There's going to be some tough parts. This could be a 4-part, potentially 6-part series.
Yeah, the way we planned it out.
Yeah, we're not going to try to bore you guys by any means, but I mean, I think we need to get this out and some of the hardships we dealt with. So, and we decided after a long debate that we're going to go with Wadzeck first, and he's going to tell his story on how he got into the Army. And
it just goes that way alphabetically. I just ended up first.
oh yeah, because you're WA, I'm WY. Yeah, man. Yeah, but I mean, with all further ado, how are we going to start this thing, Wadzeck?
So, of course, we wanted to get into a more intimate setting to be able to tell our stories. Also, so I guess just getting started. I was born, you know, in West Texas. I was actually born in Andrews. Um, I grew up in Goldsmith, Texas, which is about 20 miles from Odessa. For some reason, I guess they wanted to have me in Andrews instead of Odessa. For some reason, that's it was the '80s. My dad, you know, my mom and dad, they decided that. Um, my earliest memory, the woman that was my mother, come to find out was my stepmom. My real mom, I'm not real sure what exactly happened. I've heard hearsay stories, from, uh, like from my dad, my grandmother. They've told me stories, but my real mom, she shagged ass like right after I was born. Um,
And
I don't
just
know
left you
how.
with your dad?
Yeah, me and my brother. My when As a matter of fact, I was so young when all this happened. My dad sat down with my brother and asked him, said, "Look, I'm not going to separate you boys. I want to find out where you want to live. If you want to live with me, I'll fight for you. But if you want to live with your mom, you know, just tell me now before I spend all my time and effort and money, you know." But he said, "I'm not separating you two boys." And of course, my brother made the decision that he wanted to live with dad, So my dad, uh, like I said, this is all hearsay. I was too young to know, but my dad, being the man he is, stood up in court and told the judge straight up, "I don't want her child support. I don't want shit from her. I just want my boys." And somehow he ended up with me and my brother. And never once in my life have I doubted the decision my dad made. Um, I feel that my life probably wouldn't have been the same. Well, I'm damn near sure of it. I probably wouldn't be the man I am today if it would have went the other way.
Well,
Um,
I got a question on that now that you're going. You said it's all hearsay. Have you sat down and like asked your dad face to face?
Now, let me explain something to you about old Bud Wadzecks, my father. Um, he's the type that you don't have problems. You might have problems, but you don't have problems. You don't talk about your problems. Your problems that you have, they're not important. Um,
Hmm.
this is a man that had cancer almost 10 years before we realized that he even had cancer because he wouldn't do anything about it. Um, he he's very private when it comes to stuff like that. Now, he does, like if his feelings are hurt, he'll tell you. He'll be the first one to tell you, "Hey, look, that ain't right," or. But I will say this about my dad. not ever, not one time has he ever deterred me or told me that I couldn't or anything as far as trying to get to know my real mom. He's never told me no. He's never, when I was, I mean, which I'll get into that later, but when I was later on in life, she actually called wanting me to spend a Christmas with her. And, I talked to my dad about it. And my dad told me, he was like, hell, it's your mom. I can't tell you no. You know, I ended up not going, which I'll get into that later. But, I mean, it's still the fact that, even though he knew that I would never have a relationship with this woman, you know, unless I went, he never once said, well, if you go, you're deserting this family, or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure. Sure.
but he doesn't talk about, like what happened. So yeah, so that happened, and like I said, my earliest memory, there was a woman that was my stepmother, and all was right with the world back then. I mean, shit, I was little, like pre-K, whatever. I was a little shit, just like most of us were. I really wasn't a bad kid. I was mischievous. Um, I wanted to. I wanted to know how things fucking worked. I wanted to, you know, my grandparents, um, my my dad's my dad's mom, and it was my dad's stepdad. But to me, that was granddaddy and sweet mama. And then my dad's dad and his stepmom was Grandpa Jerry and Grandma Rita. You know the support system my dad had around him was amazing. Um, but growing up, we were a real close family with my aunt and uncle. Uh, my dad's brother was, he was coming around. He had two kids. He had Joey and Kelly, and my mom, or my stepmom. She had kids. Uh, I had stepbrothers that were older than me, which you know, I had an aunt through her that was. We were all just a real close, tight knit family, and man, I don't know what happened. I started I started school, kindergarten, first, second grade. I was in back then what they called a program called Zenith. Zenith is kind of like a like an advanced placement courses. Like in the first grade, I was doing like sixth grade work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. It's like AP. Yeah.
yeah, kind of yeah. So and that was something I was really like how schoolwork was awesome. Um, I got involved in gymnastics, and I was really good at that. And uh, man, that summer after my second grade year, like I said, I grew up out in Goldsmith, about 20, 30 miles from Odessa. About my second grade year, towards the end of the school year, um, my brother was working at a grocery store in town. It used to be called Thriftway. Um, for some reason, my brother's truck was broke down or something, but my dad said, uh, or let me back up. It was right at the beginning of the summer. It had to been, but anyways, I had a best friend, Mark Paws, that lived out in Goldsmith for about 5, 6, 7 days. I got to spend the night with my friend. Like stayed over there. I was staying at their house. Like it was a slumber party, like a 6-day slumber party
Every day.
every day. And how cool would that have been? Being in the second grade, almost a week long, you're staying with your buddy, and you you're staying with him. You're playing. You're doing all these dumb shit. You're getting into shit. Going to the swimming pool, doing whatever. But you did it with your buddy. We've all had sleepovers with our friends. Growing up and stuff. But this was like a week-long sleepover. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm over here enjoying my fucking life, thinking, man, it don't get no better than this. This is fucking awesome, right? Well, when my dad picks me up from Mark's house, we drive to Odessa to go pick up my brother from work. And I don't know what was wrong with my brother's truck at the time. I don't know. I don't know why my dad was picking my brother up from work, but that's where we went. And so the whole way there, I'm just fucking enjoying my life, whatever, having a good time. I just coming off of a week high of hanging out with my buddy Mark, and we go pick up my brother. I'll never forget. My brother walks out to the truck. Dad starts the truck, and before he even puts it in gear, he looks over at me and my brother. Single cab Chevy pickup that my dad had. Looked over at me and my brother and he said, "Your mom's not coming home." And I'm sitting there thinking like, "Oh, what for tonight or what?" I'm fucking second grade. How do you understand this shit? He said, "No, she ain't coming home. She left. She ain't coming back." And he said, "The sooner you can come to grips with it, the better off you'll be." So I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, well, I have friends that come from broken homes. Like they get to see their mom or dad like every other weekend, or whatever. Um, that's when my dad explained to me that I will not be getting weekend visits with her because she's not my real mother. And as a second grader, that's a hell of a blow to take, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like all of a sudden, I mean, like what you thought was your mother wasn't even your mom, you know, and man, I think I took it pretty hard. My grades started dropping in school. Um, we blame it on the school I went to. See, I went to Goldsmith Elementary from kindergarten through fourth grade. Fifth and sixth grade, I actually went to school in Odessa. But Goldsmith Elementary is no longer even a school anymore. Now it's just run down. I think it's an RV park or some shit now. But um, that school, my third grade year, they got rid of the Zenith program. So they put me in regular classes. Well, the shit they're learning in these classes already new. So, I mean, if you're bored in class, what are you gonna do? You're gonna act out. You're gonna do dumb shit. You're gonna, fuck it. I already know this shit. I don't need this. Whatever. You know. Um, During this time, my dad is single, and let me paint you a picture about where we lived growing up. Okay, think of a pasture. Okay, and in the middle of this pasture, you have two big ass trees, beautiful trees. You have a single wide trailer house with an addition, with an extra bedroom, a living room, and like a pantry built onto the side of it that don't even go the full length of the house. Fenced in
Like a
with
pop
a
out.
yeah, kind of like a pop out, um, with a chain link fence around it, a little carport, and then a real house, like an actual founded house out there. Now we lived in the trailer house. The real house that was founded and all that stuff that was out there, my dad had gutted into like a man cave. We knew it as the yellow house because it was a yellow house. In this yellow house, he had a pool table, dartboard, you know, would always play the old country music. The Statler brothers, Charlie Pride, Ricky Van Shelton, and all his buddies would come over all the time, and they would get out there and play pool and drink beer and do fucking crazy shit. And there for a while, it was just me, my dad, and my brother, and partying all the time. My dad, he worked in at this point. I think he was working in Andrews. He was with the same company he was with when I was born. He was with them for a long time, up until mm, I think I was like between seventh and eighth grade. Uh, when my dad got laid off from the company he was working for, but during this time he worked in Andrews, he worked in Odessa, he worked, just Goldsmith, he worked wherever, you know, and I think at this time he was working in Andrews. But my kid get off work, they go to the bar, they go, and then he'd bring all his buddies home from the bar, and they'd play pool, or on the weekends they'd all show up and they'd drink and party, and I mean, like, on Sundays we would go to this place called Dos Amigos here in Odessa. Back then they had bull rides every Sunday. So every Sunday, you were getting dressed, you were going to watch the bull rides, and dad was going to get drunk with his buddies and, whatever. But he never excluded me and my brother. Like, of course, we didn't drink with him. We were just around it. At this point in my life, I feel this is I feel like it's a normal thing. I feel like everybody in the world is doing the same thing I'm doing because it just seems so normal. You know what I
What
mean?
you're born into.
Yeah, and my dad would barbecue. Like, he would cook. Oh my god, and the way you know, I love to barbecue, and I've got some awards from it and stuff like that. But my dad's the one that taught me. You know, but like he would barbecue on the weekends, and that's what we'd eat during the week. Like, we ate pork chops a lot, brisket, ribs, whatever, you name it. Never once growing up did I think that we had a. I didn't ever think that we were. How do you say it? Like, I wouldn't say we were poor, but we weren't rich. But in my mind, I thought we had everything we needed.
Sure.
I mean, hell, we were living a life, and it's easy, even at a second, third grade year old kid, or kid that's in second, third grade year, to feel that this is the way life is, and it's normal, and it's okay, because everybody's happy, everybody's having a good time. Um, I mean, we were free. I mean, I could go out on the front porch and pee. I mean, and it was a good life. It was a good life for us. Um, then all of a sudden, my dad started dating who is my mother now. And I remember, man, I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. Because now, not only did she have a daughter that she was bringing to the table, I'm getting in trouble for things that we were doing normally. You know, I can't go to the front porch and pee off the front porch anymore because Carol and Kristen are here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, that's pretty important to do.
but what I'm saying is that it was a culture shock
Sure.
bringing in a female into this world that was basically a man's world. I mean, my dad lived it up. I mean, let's not. I mean, I'm not gonna. Let's call spade a spade. I mean, it is what it is. Um, and when he met her, I noticed little things start to change about that. All of a sudden, we're not taking these last minute trips to go to the lake. All of a sudden, there's less people that are at the house partying every night. All of a sudden, Sundays is no longer for bull rides and partying and with your buddies. You're getting ready to go to church. Um, all of a sudden, we're eating things like pot roast and salads and sides with meat.
What
Like,
the fuck is this?
yeah, I mean, it was a culture shock, man. Like, we had a life. We had a good life. We had what we thought we needed. And then all of a sudden, here come this woman and her daughter. And now all of a sudden, I'm sharing a room with my brother because they moved out there to Goldsmith with us. So they moved me in the room with my brother. My sister takes over my room, and I'm just kind of lost at this. Like, almost felt abandoned. Like, Dad, what the fuck? We had everything figured out. What was
Yeah,
this? What
it just came
what are
up,
you trying to pull here?
shook up my whole life.
Like, and um, I mean, it's hard to say now because of how close we are, but I mean, a part of me hated my mom and sister. At the time. At the time. Now is a totally different story, which we'll get into that as we go on. So here comes my mom and my sister. Boy, I didn't, I didn't, I was not quiet about not being real fucking excited about having two women in our house. Um,
Yeah.
um, I would, I rebelled. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I rebelled. My schoolwork started going to shit. I was doing dumber stuff than normal. Um, I would take my mom and my sister's possessions, take them to school, and give them away.
What the fuck?
Like, I took my sister's Nintendo to school and traded it for a little motorcycle that had a little spring on the back to
Oh, you
where
won that one. You won that deal.
it didn't matter to me. I would go through my mom's purse, take cash out of her purse, go hide it on the school in the schoolyard, and tell people, "Hey, I hid some money," and I'd let them go get it. I would take like movies to school. I'd put them on my desk. I'd put a sign that says "Free, take one." I mean, like,
Golly.
this was my way to rebel. It was made clear to me when my dad and my mom started dating. My dad made it very clear to me that I was going to like it. Whether it's happening, whether you like it or not, might as well get in. Might as well get in with us. I remember one Christmas. I might have been third, fourth grade. I can't remember. My dad bought me a brand new mountain bike. Oh my god, this bike was the shit. Had
Like
pegs
shocks
on it.
on the frame and shit.
Oh man, it was a bad son of a bitch, boy. And well, anyway, we'd always do Christmas Eve, kind of like we do now. Christmas Eve with my dad's family, and then Sunday is Christmas with my mom's family. Well, I got my bike on Christmas Eve, and I begged my dad, "Can I take my bike to town?" He was like, "No, I'll come back and get it because the truck's gonna be full of presents. We don't need your bike in there." So we go into Christmas, whatever. We open presents, and like, uh, I got stuff I needed for Christmas with my mom, my mom's family, because to them I'm the weird one. To them, you're the step kid. We don't. And I
Yeah.
would get so jealous because my sister would get all this cool shit. I would get socks. I would get shirts. Now I get excited about that shit. But back then, like, kid. Like, where's my fucking action figures? Where's my BB guns? Where's my, I was too young to understand, how it all worked. Um, all I could think about that Christmas was getting my bike. Well, after we finished opening presents, my dad and my uncle drove out to Goldsmith to go get my bike. It was actually cold that year. I think it was even snowing a little bit. My grandmother's house didn't have central heat and air. It had those old furnace heaters that would.
Yeah, the wall heaters.
Yeah, the wall heater.
Yeah.
Well, you open the fucking door, you lose all your fucking heat within like 2 minutes. It's all gone, right?
Yeah.
I was standing at the door with my jacket on, with the door wide open at my grandmother's house. My mom told me, said, shut that door. Come sit down. When they get here with your bike, you can go ride it. But for right now, you need to come in the house. Like you're letting all the heat out. I looked at her and I said, I didn't say anything. I just stood there. And then she said, move away from the door. I said, my dad went to go get my bike. I'm waiting on my bike. She was like, she went to go try to shut the door. I stuck my foot in front of it. And she said, move your foot. So I started tapping it. I mean, like, I was so fucking. I did not want to accept the fact that she was in our lives for a couple of things. For one, I found out the mom that I thought was my mom ain't my mom.
Yeah.
And then I have another stepmom that I think is my mom that leaves. And now she's going to come in here and decide she's going to be part of this family without, nobody really talking to me about it. I was pretty pissed about it. So, needless to say, I didn't get to ride my bike that Christmas. I don't think I rode my bike until spring after all that shit. But me and my dad put together a model car. I would douse it with fucking Right Guard, the old spray deodorant.
Oh yeah. Oh
I'd
yeah.
catch.
In the green can, right?
I would make a deal to where I filled up my trash can with water, and I made a ramp where I took the metal out of a ruler and made a hoop, and I doused that with fucking Right Guard. Caught it on fire, and I'd run that fucking car through it, and then catch that car on fire and land in the fucking water. My dad come in there, what the fuck are you doing, son? And at that time, that thing's, fucking ball of flames flying through the room, I mean, just whatever I could to try to run her off. Man, I think now, it kind of sucks that I lost all those cool years that I could have had with my mom and my sister, bonding with them rather than trying to push them away.
Well, you didn't realize that. Like you said, you're in complete sabotage mode in a way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
Fucking, I'm not going to be happy no one is.
Totally. And that's the way I looked at it, and it was so wrong. It was so fucking wrong. It was so fucked up how I did things. So like I said, 5th and 6th grade, I ended up going to Odessa to school because I got in a little bit of trouble. I actually beat a girl with a baseball bat at
What?
in PE one time.
You can't fucking do that. First
No,
off.
you can't. But I was trying. Let me tell my story. Every time I tell this story, nobody wants to take my side. But I had a reason for it. I didn't just go grab a baseball bat, chase a girl down on the playground.
Well, that's it's literally what you just said. Beat a girl with a baseball bat.
Well, I did. But what it was, we were playing. Yeah, we were playing softball at PE. Okay, we were batting boy, girl, right?
Yeah.
Well, there was a girl that was up that struck out. She did not hit the ball, she struck out. So therefore, whose turn is it? It's my turn, right? So I grabbed the bat and I have it by the handle. And this girl, and I don't even remember the girl's name. I don't. She grabbed the barrel end of the bat. And I told her, I said, let it go. It's my bat. She said, no, she didn't hit the ball. I said, I don't give a shit. She's out. It's my turn. And she kept pulling the bat from me. And I told her, I said, let that bat go. I said, it's my turn. And she said, no, it's not. It's mine. She didn't. I
Oh.
said, it don't matter. She's out. It's my turn. She finally grabbed it. She said, let me have this bat. And I said, okay. So I pushed it to where like the barrel end hit her in the stomach. And then when she bent over, I gave her maybe like 3 or 4 whacks just to knock her out, out of the way.
What?
And
What?
and then I get up ready, ready to make my. By that time, the PE coach is all over me, acting like a fool. You know,
Oh my
act,
god.
acting like I did something. I mean, I'm teaching her baseball here. If you ask me, I'm teaching life lessons. I'm handing out life lessons. Um, but anyway,
Hmm.
my mom and dad both worked either in Odessa or Andrews, and like I said, it's quite the drive to get to Goldsmith. So they spent a lot of time going back and forth to Goldsmith Elementary to go meet with teachers or whatever that I'd done something stupid. And so they decided, you're going to school in Odessa next year, from now on. Like, fuck it. We're going to have you closer. That way we can tearing up vehicles and wearing tires out and gas to go get you out of the principal's office or whatever. So now Goldsmith, mind you, back then was fucking awesome. Uh, we had kids about our age. We would go up to the park and play baseball, till late at night. Uh, our friends usually ran the city pool, so we'd go swimming late at night. We'd do, during the summer, if they could see the park lights on from the house, they knew that the kids were fine, because we were out just doing our own thing. So now they're going to move me schools. I get to Zavala Elementary in Odessa, Texas. It is on the south side of Odessa. Now, mind you, up to this point, I've seen black people on TV. Um, in Odessa, growing up, we didn't have a whole lot of black families that were in Goldsmith anyway. We didn't have any in Goldsmith. Um, Odessa, they mainly kind of kept to themselves. But the Mexican population in Odessa and Goldsmith, that's the high one. You know, it's not even whites here. It's a highly populated through Mexicans. Um, so here I am going to school on the south side of Odessa, and it's a culture shock for me. My class that used to have 5, 6 people in it, maybe 10 or 12 at the most, and that's in PE. All of a sudden, I have classes of 25 kids and 30 kids, and I'm sitting there like, who are all these people? Well, mind you, this is fifth grade, fifth, sixth grade. Uh, Now, fifth, sixth grade, what'd you start getting into? What'd you start noticing?
Me?
Start, no, yeah, what'd you start noticing when you were in fifth and sixth
Girls.
grade? And there was a lot to choose from. I mean, I'm no longer in
No.
this podunk ass town where the only girls I grew up with my whole life. I'm starting to notice these girls that are in this class. These little cuties, man, that used to wear the little ball things that hold their hair and shit. I mean, like I'm seeing a whole new light of people here, and I'm just like, oh. So this is what happens in the big city,
I love
like
it.
loving it, and so. Needless to say, fifth and sixth grade, I was pretty preoccupied. Uh, didn't really give a shit about class. I gave a shit about the girls. The girls were everywhere. I mean, like everywhere. Seventh grade hits, junior high. Shit. I thought there was girls in elementary. Now there's girls that are
Now
wearing.
we're talking.
Now we're talking. Now all of a sudden people are starting to fill out, and you're like, oh shit. So my
I
seventh
feel
grade
like we got
year.
to do a disclaimer right here. We're talking about a story when we were young.
Yes, young. I was of the age group that I'm talking
Sad
about.
we even have to go that route, but yes.
Yeah. So I'm starting to notice these girls, and and the girls are starting to notice me at this point, and I'm like, whoa. I I really thought this was different. I thought it was going to be harder than this. To get girlfriends, whatever. I figured out at a young age how to figure how to do the most by doing the least. Um, if I knew how much a paper was worth in my grade, and I knew what my grade was, and say I only needed to get 3 answers right on that paper to stay passing, I would do 3 questions and turn it in. I wouldn't do the whole paper. I would do just enough, to stay passing. And because I was too busy chasing girls, let's face it. Then eighth and ninth grade, football starts getting real serious because it's getting close to high school ball. So weight room starts coming into play. You're starting to see muscles that you never had before, and not only am I working out, but like the girls are starting to work out too. So it's just
Oh,
girls. Girls have been a fucking uh, god damn. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, like, up until lately, like, girls have been my downfall. Like, I can get anything done now, but back then, shit, man, you could get me off topic quick. Just, man, did you see what so and so was wearing today? God damn, I did. Like, as a matter of fact, I did.
all
you
right.
know,
So that's a downfall of yours.
yeah. So like, and football starts getting real serious. Coaches start talking to you about your future and how uh, your life is about to change like crazy because of football. Football, it's Odessa. I mean, everybody here knows, Odessa football, especially back in those days. Just it is what it is. It was
Friday Night Lights.
exactly. It is your
Friday
life, no
Night
matter
Lights.
whether you want it or not. That's your life. That's what you're gonna do. That's what's Um, I loved football. I really did. I still to this day love the game. I love the sport.
Well, you coach it. You coach it.
Yeah. Um, Coached for years. Um, I kind of giggle because I'm looking at the comments, and Christy Bivens grew up with me, and she knows how I was with girls, and I see all the little smiles,
I
the
can't see any
laughter.
comments on my end. Just
Oh, well. Anyways, when I seen that, I just kind of giggled because Christy knows. But anyways,
what the fuck? All right, Christy.
so they start drilling in your head how football is going to change your life and this, that, and the other. So all of a sudden, you don't want to let your team down. You don't want to let your coaches down. You don't want, and then when you get home, dad's not asking. Anyways, when I seen that, I just kind of giggled because, hey, just when you get home, dad's no longer asking, hey, what'd you learn in school? And he's like, how was practice today? Or what'd you do in off season today? How much did you lift today? Just on and on and on. It was never, how was your day? You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was, so you're getting it home, you're getting it at school. So now all of a sudden football becomes everything. You start creating this fantasy in your head. Like, hey, I'm in Odessa playing football. There's a chance I could make it. Knowing damn well the the percentage of people that made it is like less than 1% of all high school football players make it to the NFL. And here I am thinking like, fuck, I'm a shoe in. So Odessa playing, needless to say, it didn't work out. After about midway through my senior year, I start hanging out with a different group of people, a different crowd of people. I was no longer really hanging out with the jocks and like the rednecks and stuff like that. I met some friends that were, I guess back in the day you'd call them stoners. Um,
I know that term pretty
you
well.
know, I guess that's the kind of term that you would call them, whatever. Well, about halfway through my senior year, I start finding myself more at the stoners parties than I do at the jocks parties.
Now,
And
what's the difference between those?
um,
Honestly,
jock parties, you drank like a fish. You drank every day, like I mean, you would just drink and um, do activities with the other genders. Um,
okay,
you know, um, you pretty much drinking,
banged it out.
yeah, bang it out. At the jock parties. Matter of fact, I think my senior year we all had shirts made called gut beaters, and
Okay.
and
All right. So, what did you do at the stoner parties?
um, just sit around and get fucked up, stoned, and I mean like
Chill out.
that's where I was really kind of introduced to like in junior high we had like smokers alley and stuff like that where kids would go off campus to smoke weed or smoke cigarettes before class. And I remember sitting next to those kids in class thinking like, you're throwing your life away, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because in junior high, drugs are bad. And, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you're throwing your fucking life away, dude. Like, whatever, because they're not going in with the norm. They're not playing football. They're not cool, or whatever. Um, but about midway through my senior year, I start hanging out with these guys, and starts off simple. Smoking some weed with some guys, whatever. Uh, and then of course weed turns into other things and other things and other things.
Hey, hold on. Weed is not the gateway to everything.
Well, I'm not saying it is, but
That was our I guess culture, I guess, to look at. But now that was on anybody they smoked weed and wanted to go further with it.
oh yeah, see, and that's the thing. I wanted to try more. Because I just wanted to try it. Nobody forced anything on me. That's the kind of friends I had. They never really forced anything on you. They would just,
Sure.
if you wanted it, they'd make it available, but they didn't.
Push it
Um,
onto you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I, I fall in love with weed. Like that's my favorite. Like I get to where I'm smoking weed like crazy, and of course hiding it from my parents. My mom was not stupid. Um, she would. What I would see, I started smoking cigarettes too. So what I would do is I would smoke like in my truck or whatever. But then after that, I'd smoke like 10 cigarettes to try to cover the smell. Like my mom knew I was smoking cigarettes. Like
Oh god.
whatever. Just
Such a rookie.
yeah. But when you're that age, you know everything. You
Oh
know.
yeah, absolutely.
So, anyways, so after like during high school, I was working with my dad. My dad had his own company at this point, and I was working with him after school. I'd drive out there. I'd go work, whatever. He was working in Goldsmith at the time, and we were living in Odessa by this point. And I get out of school, I drive down Goldsmith, work with my dad for a couple hours, whatever, make some money. I waited tables in high school for
No
some.
shit.
Yes, believe it
What
or
was the
not,
place
I
that
was.
you did it?
Huh?
Where was the place that you did it?
It was a place called Western Sizzlin'. It's a steakhouse.
In Odessa?
Yeah,
Was it good? All right,
it
never,
was. A,
don't answer
it
that.
was good. It was. I saw what went on in the back.
Oh fuck! All right, let's. All right,
But it was good.
I can see how you can be a waiter.
Yeah, I was great at it. I
I,
mean, I
okay,
was.
let's not
I
go
mean,
overboard here.
oh yeah, I was great at it. But so I worked there in high school, plus helping my dad out. Um, um, then graduation come, and I took a job with one of my best friends. His grandpa had a business where they go around to these oil field companies, pick up their junk metal. They would pick it up and
Like a
separate.
scrap business, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pick up scrap metal and we'd separate like the stainless and the steel and the Monel and the
sure.
and then we'd go sell that. Um, I actually got offered the job at my graduation party that I had with my buddy from his grandpa, which still this day, man, I still talk about his grandpa and his grandma. His grandma was awesome. They would take our paychecks on Friday and pin them to the wall, and there was always a note on your check that would say something like "Have a great weekend" or or whatever. And every Friday, he would always thank you for all the work you did for him all week. If you were in the yard during lunchtime, he unplugged the phones and locked the doors, and you ate lunch together for an hour. And then at 1 o'clock, he'd plug the phones back in and unlock the door and go back to work. But for that hour, nobody was to disturb lunchtime, and people knew it. You just didn't disturb lunchtime with them.
That's
And it was
pretty.
awesome.
Yeah, we're missing that in America right now.
Oh yeah, we're missing that. I mean, as a matter of fact, I still do business with these guys that I worked with. I saw them this week. I'll probably see them tomorrow. But every time I go in there, I always talk about, man, I miss you, Dad. I miss your dad. And so, anyways, um, my sister, a little bit after that, oh well, a little bit. It was a while after that. My sister ended up getting married. Um, and at the wedding, by this time, I'm still smoking here and there, whatever. I'm just smoking weed at this point. Nothing really, alarming. Smoking weed, drinking some beer here and there. Um, my my uncle comes to me at my sister's wedding and asks me, says, "Hey man, I got a job. I'd like for you to consider." He said, and it paid so much more. I wouldn't be out in the sun. I'd be working in a shop. I'd be learning how to weld. I'd be, it was just a better opportunity for me. So I had to go to Mr. Anderson that Monday and put in my notice. He gave me my notice back. And he said, "Look, no, it's a better opportunity. Go, go for it." Didn't leave on bad terms. And so I went to work for my uncle. And somewhere in between the time that I went to work for my uncle, in between that time and the time that I joined the Army, somewhere along there, I lost my way. I don't know where I lost it to. I don't even know that I was even looking for a way. Um, I worked with two other gentlemen. One was my store manager, and the other one was a welder. And I I didn't get along with the store manager very well. Me and the welder got along great. Um, I ran into a new set of friends that were quite the partiers, and I decided I wanted my own apartment. So I moved out of my parents' house into this apartment, and me and the apartment manager's grandson, we would throw parties like crazy every night. If we weren't throwing a party, we would drive around town drinking and smoking and uh, doing a little coke, doing, just fucking living life. Fucking, we thought this was the life. We'd go to the titty bars. We'd go, just fucking living life, just enjoying every minute of it. I remember one time um, we were driving around. It was a little bit after 4th of July. Um, we were driving around in the rich neighborhoods, and we were lighting those firecrackers called like whistling Dixies, I guess is like the actual name for them. Uh, the the non-political politically correct name is something I'd rather not say right now, but we were lighting them and throwing them out the window at these rich neighborhoods. Well, my buddy's window only cracked about this much, it's just a little. So I was lighting them and putting them through that little hole. Well, I threw one out and it came back in the truck. So I jumped up in the seat of the truck and this son of a bitch goes off, blows up, smokes up the fucking truck. It's like a single cab Ford. So we pull over in the high school parking lot and we're trying to get all the smoke out. The fucking cop rolls up. He's like, "What are y'all up to?" I'm like, "Oh, we're nothing. We have a bag full of weed. We have a bag full of fucking uh, fireworks, all in the front seat of this truck." And my buddy said, "My amp caught on fire, so we had to pull over." The cop goes and shines his light in there, and I don't know if the smoke was so thick or what, but he didn't see the weed or the fireworks. Somehow. I mean, it was just a weird deal. He asked us, "Did y'all know? Have y'all heard any fireworks going off? I've been, we
Nope.
got it." Nope. You don't know
Nope.
nothing about no fireworks. And then he was talking about, he goes, "Well, let me look at your amp." So my buddy puts his seat up. He's like, "Yeah, yeah, you gotta watch, man. Sometimes those grounds will get hot." And, you know, ended up not, we didn't even get a fucking warning, nothing. He just left. Right then, I was like, "Holy shit, dude, like, I'm on a wrong path." Well, at this point, drugs have kind of taken a front seat in my life, partying, drugs, and all that bullshit. Um, Girls from the bar. I told you girls were always a problem of mine. I would go to the bar on Saturday night and I'd ask girls. My pickup line would be like, "Hey, you want to go to church with me tomorrow? You should come spend the night tonight." And the thing is,
I love it.
I would take them to church. I would take them to church in their mini skirts and their fucking tits falling out. Still have the fucking bracelets on from the bar. And we'd sit with my mom in church. And my mom would look at me like, "You son of a bitch, what are you doing?" And man, I'm finding lost souls, man. I'm a good Christian right now.
Mm.
I mean that's I didn't see anything wrong with it. You know, I thought it was all normal. I thought everybody did it. But anyway, so drugs kind of took a hold. I would use my paycheck on drugs, and well, I had an apartment to pay for. I had gas to pay for. I had food to pay for. So I I'd start taking it out of the cash register at work. I would, and the thing is, this is what's fucked up about it. Okay, I never once thought about it. Never once crossed my mind to take money out of my my work. The cash box at work. I saw my store manager do it one time, and I was like, "Oh, we can use that money." I had every intention to pay it back, but I was strung out. So I mean, it's kind of one of those deals. Hey man, let me get a 20, and I'll pay you back on. I'll pay you 40 back when I get paid. Type deal. And then you show up, instead of bringing 40, you're asking for 20 more. I mean, it started off. Oh man, I'm about $30 short on my rent. I'm just gonna get $30. I'll put it back. Dude, it got to where I was taking like $250 a fucking day out of there. For partying, for drugs, for whatever. Um, the year before, or the year that I joined the Army, that 4th of July, my dad always does a big deal on 4th of July. I'm there with my buddies in my apartment, and we're doing coke, we're doing all kinds of dumb shit. My dad got mad because I didn't come to the house for the 4th. My mom walks in. I don't even recognize her. I don't know who the fuck this woman is in my house yelling at me. She walks in and tells me I need to go see my dad. My dad wanted to talk to me. Well, of course, my uncle had already talked to my dad about, money coming up short at work, and, things ain't going well or whatever. Well, my dad sits down with me, and I remember it was like fucking hot as shit that year, too. I went to my dad's house. Of course, fucking blown out of my gourd. Sitting on his kitchen. I was sitting in the living room with him on the couch. And I remember I was fucking freezing. I was freezing. And man, my teeth are chattering. I just remember it's cold as shit. Dad's asking me, like, what's wrong with you, son? Are you on drugs? I don't know, Dad. I wouldn't do drugs. Fucking denial, And he was like, well, what's going on with the money at work? I don't know, Dad. It ain't me. It ain't me, you know? Um, my uncle eventually put up cameras and, caught me doing it. Um, the day he fired me, um, he called me in the office and he said, look, caught you on camera. We hid a camera in here. We caught you on camera um, stealing out of the cash register. And he said, I got to let you go for that. I shook his hand and I said, thanks for the opportunity. I go back to my house and I get fucked up. I used every fucking penny I had on fucking drugs, alcohol, fucking women, whatever I could get. Fucked myself up, man. Instead of thinking, hey, I just lost my job, I need to go find a new job, I'm thinking, fuck it, I'm partying. Um, Eventually, I was going to get evicted out of the apartment. Um, I was down that road. Um, One day, my dad just um, came and got me. And of course, I was fucked up, horribly fucked up. Um, we went to McDonald's and he got me some breakfast and we went to a park. Didn't even take me to the house, took me to a park. Um, Set me down at the park and pretty much told me, like, look, son, you need help. Like, what's going to help you? And I knew with the friends that I had, the friends that I was hanging out with, the friends that I was doing all this shit with.
They're not the ones that are going to help you.
No, I knew. I told Dad, I said, I need to get away. I just need to get away. I said, if I stay here, it don't matter what happens. If I stay here, I'm gonna end up right back where I'm at. But I have to get away. I have to get out. I have to leave. And so he asked me. He said, "Well, what's your plan?" Well, see, when I was in high school, Marine recruiters were blowing up my phone. They were coming to my house. They were trying like hell to get me to become a Marine. Um, there for a while, man, I was all for it till my granddaddy found out. Now, my granddaddy served in Vietnam, and he said, as long as I'm alive, none of my kids, grandkids, anything will ever be associated with the military. He said, I did. He said, I did all the time that for this family. I don't need anybody else in the war, in a war, anything. So, um, you know, 9/11 had happened when I was stoned. Um, I remember wondering, like, I wonder what the fuck's going to happen now, or whatever. But I told my dad, it was my grandfather passed away that February. Told my dad, I said, Dad, I said, the only thing I see to get me out of here is I gotta go to the military. Um, he said, well, let's talk to your grandmother, see what she says. You know, we went to my sweet mama, we sat down with her, explained to her the whole situation, you know, I was strung out and was stealing money from my uncle, which was her son-in-law. And I needed a way out, and the only way out that we could think of was military. She signed off on it under a few conditions. I had to go Army because that's what my grandfather was,
Okay.
for one. But for two, I had to pay my uncle back every penny. Every penny that I took from that man, I had to pay him back one way or another. Um, so we knew that it was going to be a long road, long uphill battle to get me in because, for one, I was strung out. I had to get clean. You know, my dad got me a job with a guy that worked or went to the church with my mom, uh, doing landscaping. I worked with this man up until the day before I swore in. He paid cash every day. Monday, whatever I made Monday would go in my pocket. That was my walking around money. That was my money to buy a Gatorade, buy a burrito, buy whatever. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday's money went to my uncle. I could not physically join the military until I paid my uncle every penny that I ever took from him. And sure enough, paid it off. Got it paid off. By this time, I had cleaned up enough where I could go talk to a recruiter. I walk into a recruiting office, and I'm kind of upset because I had my heart set on something else. Um, my recruiter was infantry. He was really pushing infantry. He was man, you got
You weren't excited for field artillery?
fuck no, I was. I'll get to that. So my recruiter, I had to get in shape. So my recruiter would meet with me. We'd run, um, stuff like that. Took the ASVAB, killed the ASVAB. Could have had any job I wanted. So the more I was looking at the jobs in the military, MP was the one that I really wanted. I really wanted to go MP. As a matter of fact, when I went to MEPS, that was originally what I told the lady that I wanted to be. I wanted to be an MP. Um, she was getting my contract together, and I guess she was the one running this situation because she actually had a real desk. There was like a little table set up in the room where other recruits were, telling where they wanted to go. Well, the guy that got recruited by the same recruiter was sitting there. He comes and throws his contract on the desk, on her desk. And I asked her, I said, what did he do? She said, oh, that's field artillery. I said, what the fuck's field artillery? She said, well, you said about 10, 20 miles away from something, you blow it up. I was just, huh? I was like, what kind of bonus did you get?
I like that.
And she goes, I said, what kind of bonus did he get? Well, he got 20 grand for 6 years. Motherfucker, I'm sitting here thinking 4 years, and I'm only getting a 5 grand bonus. Uh, can we switch now? Yeah, there's not too late. I want whatever he got. I wasn't even sure what field artillery was. I jumped on it because of the bonus and um, come back from MEPS. I sat down with my mom and my dad at the kitchen table. The little booklet that they give you that tells what your MOS is and all that stuff. The little binder you get.
Oh, yeah, no, I got fucking bamboozled, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, so sat down at the kitchen table. Um, Told my parents, look, going field artillery, 6 years, getting a $20,000 bonus. My mom started crying. Mom, because she knew all of a sudden, like, oh fuck, he's going combat MOS. Like, what happened to this MP business?
Little did
Uh,
we know.
little did we know. But anyways, that's my story. Like, pretty much to going, to the decision that I made to join the military. Um, in 2 weeks from now, I will kind of go over my military career and a little bit after that, when things start getting really interesting. Like I said, my childhood was it was normal for the most part. Other than the whole broken family thing, but a lot of that I think I brought on my own self because I was so disruptive and I was so trying to sabotage everything that I couldn't enjoy the family that I had around me. So a lot of it's my fault, I feel.
You didn't know how to like handle that at the time either, so
Yeah, so like I said, uh, that's pretty much my story, man. You got any questions, comments?
there's a lot, but
A lot.
I mean, I think it was just so much information from your point of view that no one probably expected,
Yeah.
so like to say that is there any questions? That's tough too. That could be another hour long thing.
Yeah.
I
Um,
think what we're trying to do here is give people like a path on why we did what we did.
um, like I said, and there was a detail that I left out in this whole situation, and I forgot about mainly because, you know, now that you said what you said, kind of reminded me of it. Um, since I've been in the sixth grade, since I was in the sixth grade, I'm very anti-suicide. I um, I was way against it. I didn't even know really what the word meant. You know, um, one Saturday when I was in the sixth grade, me and my dad loaded up the boat and coolers and all that. We were headed to the lake. We were headed to Odessa to go pick up my mom and my sister because they were, for some reason, they were in Odessa. Um, Back then, the old car phones that like stuck to the dashboard.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, my dad had one for his company phone, and that company phone rang. It was my grandmother. My uncle, I mentioned him earlier. He had a son and daughter or whatever. Uh, my uncle had informed my grandmother that my cousin Joey had committed suicide. Um, that I was in the sixth grade. I didn't really understand what was going on. I knew something. I knew Joey was dead. Um, Didn't know why. Didn't understand it. Still to this day, I'm sure there's questions and stuff like that. From what I understand, he had went out drinking when he wasn't supposed to, when he was told to stay home, wrecked his car, didn't want to get in trouble, whatever. A story I got as a young kid, I never really questioned it. I mean, it's something we don't really talk about in our family, but I mean, there was other issues, the underlying issues that my dad and my uncle don't talk anymore. But you gotta understand, sixth grade kid went almost every other weekend seeing my uncle and my dad drink out of the same cooler, having a good time. Now all of a sudden, my uncle doesn't come around anymore.
No.
And my dad and my uncle still to this day don't don't talk or whatever. And the man that my dad is, if the guy were to call him and just tell him, "Hey man, I'm check on him, whatever," my dad would pretend like nothing ever happened between them. And I don't know exactly what happened, and probably nobody does except him and my dad. Um, but like he quit coming around, and like I said, I saw how it tore apart a family, and I'm not saying that's what did it. There was some other issues, I'm sure, that nobody knows about. But I mean, you go from having this healthy family where you're seeing each other all the time to never, you know. And I wish that they would get their shit together and you know sit down and talk it out. But that's between them two. I can't make them do it. Nobody can. You know. But I kind of forgot to when I was that was about the time we were talking about how I found girls. See, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So, my mom used to say that she was going to get me a vasectomy for my birthday when I was in like junior
Okay. Perfect.
high.
Well, I think that we're on the right track for what we're, I guess, building up to, because I got to tell my whole thing next week. It's
Next,
gonna be
next,
tough. It's gonna be real tough.
it's tough. I mean, I knew what stories I wanted to tell and what I wanted to talk about, but there were times some of the stuff that I talked about tonight brought back some memories that you push back. You don't really want to think about,
Yeah.
and that's hard. And you'll see next week.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, thanks for sharing everything, and we'll just get back to it. I guess everyone next. I don't know what day, because I know Tuesday or Wednesday it'll be.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you before we get off here. Uh, as soon as you end the broadcast, like it cuts me out, so that's why none of our guests stay to talk to us afterwards. Just saying. But I do want to say to our listeners, our viewers, thank you for sitting through my story. Like I said, it's not always great. It's not always rainbows. It's not always beautiful, but sometimes we find the silver lining. We find the flower in the sidewalk, type deal. And um, I wouldn't change my childhood for anything, for the fact that it's helped mold me into the man I am today. Because if I wouldn't have went through the things that I went through, if I wouldn't have done the things I would have done and that I did do, if certain people had stayed in my life that I thought were that should have been there, I wouldn't have what I have now, and I'm thankful for that. So don't look at my story as a sad story. Look at it as, man, I ended up with the greatest mom and sister that anybody could ask for, even though I did everything I could to sabotage the shit out of that. It just didn't work. She's stronger than I am. But thank you, and we'll see you next week for Widener's
Oh
beginning,
shit.
his origin story.
All right. We'll see y'all then.